How does Megadeth form? It's a short-lived early lineup.
Yeah, well, there's a famous story. So he comes home. He's living in an apartment, and one day he's hungover and he's woken up by a gentleman upstairs. Or let me think. The gentleman would have been um, directly below Dave Mustaine. He hears him playing he's a bassist, obviously, and he's playing the opening riff to Van Halen's "Running with the Devil," but very, very loud. And Dave Mustaine says that's the worst bass riff you could possibly hear if you're hungover in the morning. So he hears that at deafening volume, and he's probably yelling, "Shut up, shut up." He's not, the guy below him is oblivious. So Dave Mustaine grabs a potted plant and throws it down one level below, and it crashes on I guess the AC unit, the little like in a metal fixture, and it crashes. So whoever's playing it finally gets the idea. All right, stop. Then shortly thereafter, maybe like a few days later, he gets a knock at the door and he opens it up. And he didn't know at that point that it was the guy playing the bass and also another gentleman. And they asked Dave Mustaine, "Do you know where I can buy some cigarettes?" And Dave Mustaine says, "Cigarettes? Just go down to the next, like the closest fucking deli." Like, what kind of bullshit? And he just closes the door. Then he hears a second knock, opens it up. It's the same guy. He's like, "Can you tell me where I could buy some beer?" And Dave Mustaine goes, "Now you're talking." So, so then, yeah, so one of those gentlemen, the guy who was playing the bass below was none other than David Ellefson, who we all know went on to become a big part of the whole Megadeth story. He was a longtime bassist, co-wrote a lot of the material, came up with some great iconic bass lines. And yes, that's pretty much so. So they connect. They go through a bunch of members over the next year or so, including It was a short-lived lineup featuring Kerry King of the band Slayer. He was briefly in Megadeth early on.
Yeah, that's
And then they
interesting.
finally get the definitive lineup, my favorite Megadeth lineup, which is Dave Mustaine on vocals and guitar, David Ellefson on bass, Chris Poland on guitar, and Gar Samuelson on drums. Now, Chris Poland and also Gar Samuelson, their background is jazz fusion. It's not metal. And they add a whole interesting element to what makes Megadeth totally unique. If you listen to Peace Sells or even the first album, which is called Killing Is My Business, compared to any of the other big four of thrash, they have a totally different vibe. It's like a very like, speedy fusiony type thing, which I absolutely love. And to me, that's again, it's one of those what if tragedy type things because Dave Mustaine was able to catch lightning in a bottle twice. He got a lineup together that was as good in my mind as Metallica, but then they only lasted for just two albums because after Peace Sells, Chris Poland and Gar Samuelson are excused due to drug addiction and also some other stuff going on behind the scenes.
And the band name Megadeth, that can be traced back to that bus ride that Dave was on from the East Coast back to the West Coast right after he's fired by Metallica.
Yes, he comes across a pamphlet. I think it was a governor. I believe his name was Alan Cranston or something Cranston. Definitely not Bryan Cranston, the gentleman from Breaking
Breaking
Bad,
Bad.
right? But yeah, and it was a pamphlet, and I believe the phrase said, "The arsenal of Megadeth can't be rid, they say." That was the quote. And Megadeth spelt, of course, at the time was Megadeath, but Dave Mustaine shortens it to Deth. That was their trademark with their band name. And yes, so ultimately they wound up going with that because Dave Mustaine's quote is like, "I was running a band called Metallica. Like, how am I gonna? It's impossible to get heavier than Metallica. You already have Iron Maiden, Metallica. Like, what other kind of metal are you gonna use?" And then he realized Megadeth is pretty bloody extreme if you think about it.